Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. We are ready for that respiratory zone, where respiratory is talking about gas exchange. And what we're looking at in this particular area, we're getting into what is called alveolar ventilation. And then we're getting into what we can also talk about as internal respiration. And we'll talk about these terms more as we go through our presentation. We'll see that the respiratory zone is made up of the respiratory bronchiole and then the alveoli. So what I'm going to do is draw kind of two lines that looks like the number 11. And then I'm going to make sort of bulges. I'm going to redo that. That looked really crazy. Okay, so maybe like when you were a little kid and you drew a hand, and maybe you didn't even remember to get all 5 fingers there. And I'm drawing a picture that looks like that. So that's really funny. So our respiratory bronchiole would be the smallest bronchiole. I'm going to call it a tube. So we still have this smooth muscle lining this tube. And it's going to lead to what we can call the alveolar duct. Now, the term alveoli means pocket. And so what it sort of looks like is a cluster of grapes, but it's not like individual grapes. They all open up together into this space. So that's why I have this drawing that's looking like the 4-year-old or the 3-year-old's version of a hand. So when we talk about the alveoli, let's go ahead and highlight this. This is our location for gas exchange. And when we're talking about all of these structures, we will see that we are inside of the lungs still. So we enter the lungs with the left and right main bronchi, and we continue in the lungs the rest of the way. Now, when we talk about the alveoli, we will see that they're composed of 3 important types of cells. So we have a type 1 pneumatocyte. We have a type 2 pneumatocyte, and we have an alveolar macrophage. So when we think about our type 1 pneumatocyte, I'm going to zoom in on my drawing, and here I'm going to line my hand with some basically simple squamous epithelial cells. And so this then would be my type 1 pneumatocyte. And I'm just going to stop drawing that. So when we talk about our type 1 pneumatocyte, we're going to talk about them as actually lining the alveoli. This is actually where the gas exchange is happening. This is a simple squamous epithelial cell. And we'll see that it's going to be part of what we're going to call the respiratory membrane. So the respiratory membrane is going to be the actual membrane where the gas exchange is happening. And so what we can do here, let me actually go back to my drawing. I'm going to take a red pen to represent my capillary. And here around the alveoli, I'm going to draw my capillary. And remember, your capillary is also just lined with that simple squamous epithelial tissue. We called it endothelial tissue at that time. So let me label inside here that this is my capillary. And let me grab another color just so we can see. I'm going to grab a green. And I'm going to draw sort of a little line in between my alveoli and my capillary. And I'm going to label that line a basement membrane. So when we're talking about then that respiratory membrane, we're talking about the simple squamous type 1 pneumatocyte, a basement membrane, and then the capillary. And so this is actually the location where our gas exchange is occurring. And remember, we are expecting to see oxygen moving from the alveolus into the capillary, and then we're expecting to see carbon dioxide gas move out of the capillary and then into the alveolus. Alveolus would be the singular word. When we are talking about this respiratory membrane, we will see that it's about 0.5 micrometers thick. This is where the gas exchange is happening, and both CO2 and oxygen move via simple diffusion, which means they're going to be moving from, we'll talk about this more, but they're going to be moving essentially from a high concentration to a low concentration across that phospholipid bilayer. So because both of these gases are lipid soluble, they don't have to have a special channel carrier or any other kind of special mechanism to get across these two areas. Going back to our cell types, we also have this type 2 nematocyte. And the type 2 nematocyte is going to secrete what is called pulmonary surfactant. And I'm going to highlight pulmonary surfactant. Pulmonary surfactant is going to be phospholipids, proteins. They're going to decrease the surface tension of the alveoli. And what this is doing is preventing collapse. So if I wanted to go back to my drawing, maybe I'm going to make a secretory cell. So I'm going to make it sort of like stick up a little bit. And so then I did a few of those just to represent my type 2 nematocyte. The last cell type, and I'm going to grab a blue color because it's getting lost down here, is my alveolar macrophage. And we should be pretty well versed in the job of an alveolar macrophage. This is going to be to perform phagocytosis. So again, here we have at the ready, I'm going to draw in some macrophage and I'm going to make them look like little Pac-Mans to show they're here ready to engulf any sort of pathogen that has gotten to this point. So of course that's important also in terms of our innate immune response. All right. Up next, we have just a little bit of information to add in about the lungs, and then we're actually ready to start getting into the physiology of how we actually get air into the body and how we perform gas exchange. So stay tuned. As always, take care of yourselves and each other.